I'll read. Welcome back to Nathan's Nags Part 2. Sorry if I'm a bit echoey. I'm in like a kind of an empty room that's getting renovated. So I'm just wanting to show you my profit and my betting sequence. I know other people have done different things, which is fine. And once I've done that, I'm going to show you what I'm planning on doing going forward, because I'm in what I've called like a recovery rut, which a few of us have mentioned on the Discord. But as you can see, I've finished today, which is Sunday the 9th of July, with a profit of £98.05. So cheers for that, Nathan. Thanks very much. So £98.05 I didn't have before I started this, which is always a welcome bonus. So if I go down to the bottom of this list, you'll see all the previous bets I've put on, but it only goes down to Saturday morning. Well, when I say Saturday morning, Saturday at 14:25. For some reason, I lost connection and I had to reboot VPS. So yet again, I had to launch Betfair Bot Manager and then lose what was ever in this window. I've still got all the history. So this misses out the kind of mini disaster we had on Friday night, which was about 3 losses in the last 6 races or something like that. Something similar to Saturday as well. So what happened on Friday then for me, mine went into what I'd call recovery mode. It's trying to win back what we lost. Now that only should take one bet, to be honest. But the problem is, if I go into the stake and tab here, the problem is this £20 here. So when we lost the first bet, if we lost, say, I don't know, £6, it should try and get that £6 back in the next one bet. But because I've got a maximum liability of £20, because I haven't got a massive bank in this Betfair account, I've got a maximum liability of £20, it starts trying to get it back over a series of bets, which is okay as long as you don't lose another one. But we did, obviously. Friday night was a little bit of a disaster. I think we'd won every single bet all day until about, I don't know, was it 7:30, 20 to 8? I might have the time wrong there, but it wasn't far off. And then we lost a few in the last sort of 3 out of the last 6 races or something like that. And then again, Saturday morning. So I just want to show you how that looks, even though I haven't got Friday night's betting here. What it transpired to on Saturday then at the 2:25 race, and we were still betting like £4 on sort of 6.4 odds, £4, which is your £20 liability, and it won that one. But then it lost. We lost £24, we won, and we lost £20, we won, and we lost £25. So then you're looking at making all this up, which is 60-70 quid, plus all the money we probably lost similar on Friday night as well. So it continues to do exactly the same. The lower the odds, the more money it'll put on, because that gets you to your £20, and it's risking £20 on every race. So if I go up, you might think it's recovered quite a bit here, but it's nowhere near the losses. I've kind of nearly recovered now. I think on Thursday night I ended up on about plus £58. Sorry, Wednesday night was £58. Thursday night I think it was about 84. I think we've done about £26 or 26 points on Thursday. So Thursday night it was 84, and then before the catastrophe on Friday, it's gone. Sorry, Nathan, it's gone from mini disaster to a catastrophe. It had got up to £96, and that was on Friday. And you can see we're only on £98 now. So on Friday it got 96, but then after the losses, we ended up, I think it was £71.25 or something like that, or £71 something. So I'm going to go into, so you can see it's going all the way up here, it's doing the same, and you're just running the risk of losing anywhere between 20 and 25 quid going up. I'm not sure why it's 25 quid when I've got a maximum liability of 20. That must be something to do with Betfair Bot Manager or the prices it gets on. But then you can see that's today, where we had about 3 o'clock. 25, 3 and 5 past 3 I had. I'm assuming everybody else did as well, 2 consecutive losses. So it was recovering quite well, but then we lost another £44 there, 45 quid. So we're doing really well considering, and then I don't think we lost a one since then. So you can see it's recovered all that, and I'm back up at 98 quid. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to cut my losses and I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to start a different staking plan, and that's part 2 of the video. Now I'm going to look at an alternative staking plan that's not so risky as 100% recovery, especially when I haven't got the bank to recover it. I've got 375 quid in this Betfair account, and it's nowhere near enough to recover 3 or 4 consecutive losses on this strategy. I think I've said in the past, obviously, if you take it just a rule of thought, like rough calculations, the first losing bet you could lose, say on a quid stake, you could lose £7 because you're looking at 8.0, which is like 8.0 times your pound stake minus your pound stake, which is 7. Then if you just multiply that up by another 7 for the second losing bet, after 2 losing bets, you could be looking at £49, which means this number here needs to be £49, not 20, and that's just to cover 2 consecutive losing bets in a worst case scenario. The third bet is then 49 times by 7, so just say 50 times by 7, you look at about 350 quid for the third bet. I didn't have 350 quid in this account until sort of later today. So yeah, the numbers don't stack up. I think we did. You probably didn't have 3 consecutive losses in live on Friday night, but I certainly did on one of my test accounts. So yeah, I'm going to look at other strategies in part 2 of this video, so stay tuned. I'm going to move over to the staking machine right now. So just before I go to the staking machine, I'll just show you the history screen here with the bets with the 2 Nags filters on there. You can see we've had 171 bets in total now. Remember, we were working on 82 in the previous video, so we've got like more than double now. We've had 146 wins, which means our strike rate is 85.38%. That's down from, I think it was over 86 in the first video. We've had a profit of £98.85, and that's 80 pence more than the previous screen because the previous screen didn't include the 80 pence I won there on the first day when I was only using 10 pence stakes. So we won 80 pence on that day, so it's slightly out, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to actually include these in the staking machine because it's good to have these 2 losing bets. And just to give us an idea of, like, a bit of a losing distribution, because if we won everything, there's not much point in having a look at the staking plans really, other than the difference in the profit. Okay, let's get on to the staking machine then. So I'm just at the point here of loading the file in. It seemed to just so here we want from, if you don't know how to use this, probably suggest looking at the first video when I ran through how to use it. But that's a column that contains the odds, and then I've put the results in here, which is that column there. I've also put a bet date in here, just if I want to filter out any dates or anything like that and see how we got on. So I'm just going to use the first optional spare data column as the bet date, and I'm not going to use the second at all. So if I click on next, shows you the data there, no errors found, good stuff. Click on finish, that loads that in. So you've got all the bets here. You can see there's where third bet was a loser and the 6th bet was a loser. Now, first thing we need to do is change this to say it's a layer sequencing, because these are all your back staking plans. So we're telling it that this data set's a layer data set. It's a set of layer bets. So these are all your layer staking plans. I'm going to run through a few of them, not all of them. Some of them are very complicated, and I'm not going to sit and explain them because the main reason I don't understand them myself. But you can always look at the results of them all if you install or purchase and install the software. I use it on the web. It's 40 quid a year, and I think it's great value. I'll put the links in the description again. But you can see here it's a level staking plan of £2 there. What I'm going to do with all these right now as I go through them, I'm going to change them to mimic what I've done, because if I've done started with £100 bank and staked £1 per bet. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm not going to use £2 as a reference for all these. I'm going to use £1 because then hopefully the profit down here will equate to my £98. Anything that beats £98 means we've done a better job than doing the 100% recovery, if you like, even though I haven't really used the 100% recovery properly at the end. Well, I have really, I just didn't have a high enough liability over the £20. So what I'm going to do then is just click on the stake and plan settings down here, and you'll see here it's defaulting to 2%, so I'm going to change that, save that and exit. So now you can see we've got our 170 bets. We've lost one because I took out that matched one that didn't settle, Jetstream. So we've got 170 bets. Our starting bank was £100. We haven't bankrupted ourselves, which is the first thing you should look at. That displays in bright red if you do. You can see now down here, our biggest winning sequence was 27 bets, and that was bet 100 to bet 126. And our longest losing sequence was 3. So I did actually have 3 losing bets on Friday night in live on the belt, and that's why I'm still in recovery, to be honest. And that was bets 127 to 129, and that's at this point here. You can see it straight away on the graph because it goes high and then drops lower. So you can see we peaked at about £154 there, and we have more or less recovered to 150, but it's taken since Friday night to Sunday night to do that. This is on level stakes, don't forget. So all we're risking here is £1 on each bet. So the maximum loss we can have is £7 on each bet, but we stand to win £1 if the horse doesn't win the race. You can see here that was quite a high one because it was odds of 7.6. It can only get to 8 as long as you're doing the maximum of 8.0. I know some people are doing a bit more. So what's good to see down here is if we look at the stake column, look at our maximum stake, make sure we're comfortable with that. Well, I'm comfortable with that because it's only ever £1 in this. And if I go down to row bet 127, see what happens. So it's there in the middle of the screen about now. So you can see we had all these wins here. We got up to £154, and then we had 3 consecutive losses, and we only went down £147. So I'm more than happy with that. We won that one. We lost the next one, went down to £143. Then we're into Saturday now. At this point on row 132, we'll move on to Saturday. You can see how the time changes and the date changes. We won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1 on Saturday morning. That left us down to £133. So obviously since then we've recovered to 150, which is really good. And don't forget, this is just from level stakes. You're not doubling up on the next bet or anything. So if you were happy with doing level stakes, you'd be £150. So you'd be £50 better off. So you've more than you've put half on top of your bank. So your £100 you started with is now worth £150 after a matter of like a week and a little bit, maybe 8-9 days max. Which you can't complain about. You're going to get nowhere near that in interest rates in a bank. You wouldn't even get. I mean, that's 50% of your bank. You've made 50%. You can't even get like 2 or 3% in a year, maybe. If you're lucky, if you've got enough money in your bank, you might get 2 or 3%. And we're talking about 8 or 9 days. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to use that as a reference point. So I'm going to put 50. I'm just going to write this down because I'm going to write some notes up on this. Or a spreadsheet or something. So layer level stakes is my starting point was £98 for what I've been doing, which I'm going to bank. I've already said. And I'm going to start one of these staking plans from tomorrow. Is the plan for me anyway. So layer level, that could be £50. That's probably, and I know I've made 98, but that's your safest. That's like one of the safest options. So I'm going to move on to layer liability. Now you can see here the cumulative total is £310, but this will be with a liability of £20 per bet. So we're saying here, set the liability at £20. So whenever you have a winner of the race, you'll lose roughly £20. It might be slightly out because of rounding. That's £20 and a penny, 20, 20, 1998. So, but if we'd done that, we would have been £310 profit, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you've got the bank to cover £20 liability for every race. So even where we had 3 losses in a row, we would have only lost £60. But bear in mind, all the winners we get, we're winning about blah blah. Like £5, £6, £7, £8. The higher or the odds, the lower the stake will be, because it'll always multiply out minus the stake to your £20. So obviously there we've got a 7.6, but we're only putting £3, 3 pence on. But the stake doesn't really matter when you lose, because you're always going to lose 20 quid. But you'll win whatever the stake was if your horse loses. So if I go down again, and I'm not going to do this for all of them because the video will be far too long, but if I just go down to this one, have a look at the 127th area, because that's where we got through our sticky patch on Friday night. You can see, we were up to £363. So I'm kind of looking at that. I'm looking at this to see what the total is, whether we've recovered from where we started our big loss. And we haven't really, we're still £50 below. And I'm looking at this as well, the stake. I don't want to get into excessive stakes. I mean, this is never going to be excessive because it's only going to be your £20. Now, what I thought on this one, which would be more reflective of the numbers, is actually I thought about making the maximum liability £7. The reason I've said £7 is because when I'm doing the layer level stake, that's the most I can lose, and that's the maximum I can lose in one race. So if I put a £1 bet on a horse that's 8.0, the most I can lose is £7. So that made us think, well, try these numbers. And this is the great thing about this software, is you can just play with these numbers until your heart's content. Another great strategy for doing this is spin up your simulation mode in Betfair Bot Manager. Get on your like bets. It doesn't have to be horses. Build up a data set in simulation, so you're not risking any money at all. And then if it looks like it's going to be at least half profitable, export the data and load it into here, and then play with these numbers as long as you want. And that'll show you whether your strategy is going to be viable or not. So anyway, going back to this layer liability one, if I click on the staking plans, I thought that would be a good test to see what this does. So we'll have a starting bank of 7, and instead of risking £20 on every bet, just risk 7. So if I change that, you can see £173. Now that is like halfway between the 98 that I've actually made and the 50 on layer level. And if you look here again, down at the 127th, you can see how it goes up and down here. And when we lose, we're only going to lose roughly £7. Sorry, 6.98, 7, £7 and a penny, £7 2 pence. We go down to our losing sequence, which I've gone too far. Sorry. Down here, you can see that we were on £192. So we had £92 profit, and we've recovered to 73. So still about 20 quid shy, but this isn't a recovery strategy plan. It's just laying the liability, so I think it's a really nice one, to be honest. You could be £73 up, so you added 3/4 of your starting bank on. And again, what I can do going forward, I can keep a track of all the tips that Nathan does give us, who kindly gives us, and we can load them all into here and look at the different staking plans. I totally recommend getting the software yourself though, so you can do it yourself. £40 for the Windows version, or £40 for the web version is an absolutely cracking deal. It's a winning day, really. It's not even that. It's not even a winning day. It's just like it's 40 quid. It's like a few beers out in the town these days, isn't it? Anyway, so that layer liability then, 73.76. So I'm going to write that down as well. And I highly like that. I really like that one as well. I'm not going to go into mixed because it's a bit complicated for this one. I might do that separately. It's where you're doing the two together. You're doing either a level bet or a liability bet based on the odds. So if I just look at the settings there, it does go up to 310. So there you're seeing you're starting banks 2. I'd probably put a level stake of 1, and then your liability I've changed down to 7 from 20. Then cut off point, I think the average of these odds is 5.71 because I've already looked that up, so I'll stick that in for now, and that's kind of what I'd look at. I'll show you what that looks like. I didn't want to go into this one, but I've done it. So you're looking at a £68 profit there. And basically what this one does here is if the odds is below 5.71, it does the liability bet. So you can see there it does £2.12. But if the stake's over 5.71, which is the average, and it doesn't need to be 5.71, you can change this up, you know. You might think, well, I should be putting the stake liability on the ones that are higher than 5.71, in which case you can just change it around. But anyway, when it's higher than 5.71, it just puts your level stake on, which is £1, and that comes out at £68, which is less than your layer liability. So you probably have to be worth doing. I think you'd probably have to be looking at over the £73.76. But it's just so simple to go in here, and you can reverse it like that. And what that'll do is it'll do the opposite. So it'll say, right, if it's 5.71 or less odds, it'll just put £1 on, and anything over that, it'll put it'll do your layer liability, because the higher the odds, the less you're expecting to win. But then that only gives you £55 profit. So then again, you can just tweak it till your heart's content. I'll take that off because it was lower, and I could move this odds down. I could move it down to 4. And that gives me 58, and then okay, so that's still not 68 or 73. So if I change it again and move it up to say 6 or 7, 6.5, say, well, actually I'll do 7, not much over 7 though. That gets us up to 174, so that's probably not a bad one, but that's probably getting very much towards the layer liability anyway, because the majority will be the layer liability. There's only a few that are over 7, which will be putting this level stake on. So that's a kind of thing you can do with that one. I'm not going to concentrate too much on that one. I am going to have a look at the percentage liability, because that comes out at £148, and again you can play with this one. So this is doing a liability bet on a percentage, which is the percentage is 4% by default on a £100 bank. You can see the stakes here are really, really nice and low, and you're still getting £148. And what you can do with this one, because there's only really the one set other than the starting bank, or the ratchet mode as well, but I'm not going to go into that at the minute. You can reduce the stake or increase it. So you see on the liability is 2%, so you only have a betting £2 on each. Well, it's £2 on the first bet, but then it ramps. It's a percentage of your bank. So it's always 2%. So if you've got £300 in your bank, it'll be 2% of £300. So you can see your stake there, and you can see it's a nice little. It's a small drop. It doesn't like plummet down, but that only comes out with £122 profit, because you only have a betting 2% of your bank. So what you could do is go the other way and say, right, I'll do 6. So obviously the default was 4. I'll type 6 in there. Right clicked for some reason. Getting late. On weekend. Hope everybody's had a good weekend, by the way, while I'm faffing on with this. So that's £176 there. You can see down here, your liability is 6, 7, no different to what we were looking at in the previous ones, where I set it to 7 manually. But as your bank increases, that'll go up. So we lost a 1 there, so it went down a little bit. And this is your bank here, and this is your liability for each bet. But you can see the stakes are really, really attractive. I mean, you're putting on things like 91 pence, 92 pence, up to a maximum of like £2.05, £2.68. So again, I'd go down to bet 127, see what was going on there. You can see how our bank increases, the liability goes up. So our liability is up to 9, it's up to 10, it goes back down to 9 because we had a loss. It just seems like a really safe way of doing it. I mean, obviously it might not be, but it's proven that we can get £76 profit without doing stupid things like 100% recovery, trying to win everything back in the next bet, hoping that the next one wins. We're not hoping for anything. We're just like doing a nice, steady, slow and easy staking plan. I say slow and easy, but you're still making 3/4 of your bank. And then, you're making 3/4 over and above what you started with. This is our dodgy patch here. where I had on Friday night the 3 consecutive losses. We had 211 in the bank at that point. Obviously, we're still only at 176. So if I mean, based on Nathan's previous tips, that is an horrendous run, really, isn't it? I mean, nobody could see that coming. But like I said, as sure as eggs is eggs, you're going to have like 3 losses in a row, which we did, and we followed that up with another 4 in the next sort of 8. But this staking plan handled it fine. Well, I wouldn't say fine because it drops down to 143 from 211. But I mean, it just shows it does recover, and as you go down, I mean, we had a couple of losses today, which is these 2 here. We were back up to 178. We lost 2, and then we've just recovered again back to the 176. So we're not much worse off than what we were before we had those 2 losses, rather than like doubling things up, which just doesn't sit right. So the next one is the layer percentage. Now you can see here, this graph is totally different. Like it pummels down. It's up to something wacky, 1,692 quid. I do need to have a look at the default settings for this, though, because they must be a bit odd. But you can see here, all right, okay, so it's doing 10% of your bank by the looks of it here, because it's you're laying a percentage of your bank. Why on earth it starts at 10%, I have no idea. But what I'm going to do straight away is change that to 1% of our starting bank of 100, because that's what we're doing. We're doing £1 in every 100. We're doing 1% basically. So again, if you're starting with a tenner, you're doing like 10 pence. Apologies, it is getting late. If you start with a tenner, you're doing 10 pence. So you start with a tenner, you can do this. You can change these numbers to say a tenner and 10 pence instead of £1 and £100 that I'm using. So you can see here, that's instantly got us down to the numbers I'm looking at, like they round about the pound stakes. Every one's roughly £1 because it's always 10%. 10%. It's always 1% of your bank. So there, 100 goes up, and you can see how that's stopped the actual plummet, and we still made £160 there, so £60 up. So 60%. If I go down to the 127 row. Cheers for the sequence of events, actually, Nathan. The losers, it's really kind of you, because then it gives me something to show people and how it recovers, or how some of them don't. But again, you can see this one got to 166 maximum, 168, sorry, there, on bet 126, and then it only drops down 143. Oh, sorry, further down there's 136 there. My apologies. Yeah, so it's row 137, which is going to be your worst, because that's like at the end of the losing sequence on the Saturday. And we've recovered it back up to 160, which is obviously a bit less than 168, but it's not a lot less. It's only £8 less, so this does look like quite a nice one. So again, need to play with the numbers on that one, on the layer percentage. I'll write that down, £60.42. I think I missed one out there. Next one, I'm going to miss Maria, because she was a strange old bird, wasn't she? Starting off with £3,000. But actually, I'll go into it quickly. I'm just conscious this video is going to be so long, people will be falling asleep. So she started with £3,000 in her bank, whereas I'm starting with 100 quid. And the cumulative total, you've won 877 there on £3,000. So if I go straight into settings and change that. I'm also not sure what this bets per day is, or 5. I don't know if it's only calculating 5 bets. It's going doing the calculations on 5 bets per day, or what, but we're putting a lot more than that on. I'll just leave that for the minute. But then you can see here the odds ranges. If it's less than 3.5, you're putting 1% of your bank on. If it's less than 7.5 odds, you're putting 6.6% of your bank on. And if it's less than 11, you're putting 0.4% on. So those numbers would probably need to be changed for us, because there's probably not, well, there won't be much in this last bracket. It'll only be anything from 7.6 up to 8. But anyway, I'll just save that and show you what it looks like. So you can see there, it's probably one of the worst ones we've looked at so far, which is £29 profit. I'll just quickly go back in and just try and manipulate some of these. I'm not sure what I should be doing though. Probably want 8 in there because that's our highest. and probably go somewhere, maybe the average 5.71. No, say something like, again, you can play with all these figures, and then say 4. I might as well just make that 6 and see if that has see what impact that has. That's the beauty about it as well. It's gone down a few pence, down to £128. So I'm not going to go on that one any longer. I like the look of the lay ladder, because that doesn't drop too much. We've got £315 there, but it's on £2 stake. So we'll change this one to £1, so it's 1%, and the reset point at 3. This is the one where when you get a loss, it adds on to the next bet. So it is a recovery one, but it isn't as severe as 100%. So you can see every time we have a loss, the next bet will be whatever we've lost plus 1 point to try and recover it. So it is kind of 100%. So, but you can see there we've doubled our bank. So maybe a one to look at. So again, I'll drop down to the 127 area where our problem started. Problematic area. We reached 212 and we're back up to 207. So it's nearly fully recovered. It dropped down to 179, 178, which I don't think is too bad, considering the bad run we had there. It just shows it can weather the storm basically, and it's back up. So that's a nice one. The lay ladder, I like the look of that because you've got £107.53 profit. Now the next one, I'm not going to go into Kelly because it's a complex calculation. I'm going to go into this one, which is the 1 to 4. If you don't know anything about these strategies, by the way, sorry, it's not strategies, staking plans. If you go into the staking machine, go to staking plans. I mentioned this in the last video, but I'll just go over it again. So this one we're looking at now, 1 to 4, and I realise the reason I've highlighted this one is because of this. There. That bit there appeals, and I think it should appeal to everybody watching this. So it's saying the lay 1 to 4 staking plan is what I would call a gentle loss recovery staking plan, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We don't want anything wacky like this 100% that we're using at the minute. We want something that's gentle and easy to do the recovery. So what I'm going to do here is, you can see it's defaulted to £273 there. I'm going to go into staking plans and just have a look at the settings and have a look. So again, we want to change that from 2% to 1%. So you can see there, it's like pulled it down substantially. That's because we're only staking £1 or £2 with level stake is £1. But you can see that's a if this is as it says, a gentle loss recovery, £86.77 is crazy. I mean, that's crazy compared to the risks I've been taking over the last couple of days, Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I know I'm at £98 now, but that's just because it's fortunately nearly recovered. I'd have probably been a lot better off doing something like this. Even if this looks pretty bad here though, so again I'll drop down to 127 and have a little look. So you can see there's a big series deficit here, which was a problem on this one. Well, not so much a problem, because what it does is it records a deficit of each bet. So we lost 152 there, we lost 380 there, we lost 1320 there, so that's a running deficit of 1852. And what it does is it tries to get that back over the next 4 bets. So that's why it's called 1 to 4. So it splits that 1852 roughly into 4. So you get like £4 stakes from then on. We'd already started with 2 and 3. So we won that one. So it went down to 1452. So it's still trying to bet £4. And you can see we lost another one. So it went to 29. So if I keep going down, you can see though that stake never goes over £4. But because it's still recovering, it stays at £4 for quite a long time. It's similar to what mine's doing. It's always between like sort of 40, depending on the odds. But this one won't go over 4. So as you can see, as you go down, this deficit drops as long as you're winning. But then obviously we lost we lost 2 today, which are these 2 here. So the deficit went back up. So the deficit's at £39. So yeah, this, you can see it's nearly cleared. Once we have one more win and bet, Nathan, tomorrow, thanks. This will be clear, and it'll go eventually back to £1. So yes, this one's meant to be slow and steady and low risk, but you can see how long it's been in recovery, and with a few more losses that could stay in recovery for a long time. But you can see it's nearly out now. So it's whether you're happy with that recovery. You can see the deficit down here reached £66 there, 69 here. You think that's a lot of £4 winning bets you need to do to get out of recovery. But at the same time, you can still see your profit is still above your bank, although it did get down to £120 there, which is bet 137. You'd only had £120 in your bank, which means your profit would only been 20 quid at that point, 23 there. So you've got to look at the pros and cons, and that's what I've just talked about there, signified by this real downturn and up, and so, whereas some of the plans are more like straight line, even with all this negativity in the sort of 127th bet. So that's a nice one. Another one is this one. This one, the blurb on this one, I'll go back to the blurb because I'm not sure what it's about, but it does say something along the lines of staking plan. This is a loss recovery staking plan, but cuts its losses before the stakes are excessive. Okay, so what I take from that is that sounds good to me, but it's starting with stakes of 10. So if I just go on to the settings, it's starting with a bank of 1,000 for some reason, so I'm just going to change that back to our norm. And you can see we've got a profit there of £159, which is by far the biggest yet. So this one then, you can see the stakes here. I'm not going into how it works because I don't really know how it works. All the rules are here and they're quite complicated. There's like multiple steps. The first step is pretty straightforward. When the first losses occurs, it's divided into 4, the loss, and 1 unit's added to it, so similar to the one we've already looked at. So we have set a unit as £1. I'm going to lose £10, then the next stake is £3.50 because it divides it into 4 and adds 1. But then it depends on whether the next one wins or loses, and it goes on to another step. I'm not going to go into this video, it's getting humongous. I'm only just over halfway down this list, and I'm not going to go through them all actually. So we have a stake of £1, then £1 and a penny, and then we suffer on £1.2 stake. We suffer a loss, so it goes up to 2. So you can see there, and then suffers loss, so it goes up to 4. But then it comes down once it's recovered. So it is a nice recovery one, and what is appealing is this number. £159.85 profit on our £100 starting bank. However, I think there might be a catch, so I'm going to go down. You can see the stakes are lovely and low when we're not losing multiple times, and I just want to see how far this drops. It doesn't look like it goes too bad there. I'm not going to spoil it by just hovering over the graph either, which you can do. I'm actually going to go down here because I want a little bit more of a look at all these. But yeah, it only goes up to 233 there, 238, 398. Obviously, if any of those lose at 398 multiplied by 7.4 minus your stake, you're looking at a good 20 quid loss. And then we don't know what's going to happen on the second consecutive loss, but we're going to find out because that's what happens at bet 127. So you can see here we're up to like 170 odd quid already. I'm only betting like up to £3 there, 365 there. It seems to do it in blocks of 4, so it'll do it 4 times. So let's get down to 120 there. So it goes up to 425 there for some reason. I think it's because we lost 9. It's because we lost £15.91 there, and then 9.77 there. It's quite a bit higher there. Lost another one here, so it goes back up to 427 stake. I'm coming up to it now. There we go. So yeah, it's whether you're risk averse to that or not. We peaked at £251 and we're past that, so it actually recovered over and above where we were before the bad run started on Friday and ended on Saturday morning. And see, it took all the rest of Saturday and all day Sunday to recover for all of these staking plans, but they have recovered, most of them. So you can see here, we still, right, so yeah, we ended up with 868 there after these sequence of losses, which I don't think is too bad at all. I mean, let me know in the comments, or put your feedback on Discord, and we'll go through these in more detail. But that is really, I think that's really acceptable for me anyway. I know it's like 7.4 times 8.68, so you'd have to have 50 odd quid in there. You're talking like probably 50 quid, 50, well, yeah, so bank minus a stake, so about 50 quid. I'm not working it out exact, but you'd have to have 50 quid. You're risking 50 quid if that one lost, which it didn't, but the next one did. But the next one lost at a lot lower odds, so we only lost 833. That potentially kind of sort of thinking that was quite lucky there in respect to the staking plan. But after it being 251, we ended up going down to 185. Not that bad considering all the losses we had here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses, with 1, 2, 3, 4 wins in between. 7 losses and a run of 11. That's not too bad, I'd say, down to 185 from 251, and then it's obviously recovered since. So the highest bet there is £8.68, which we've done twice. We've got a £5 there, and you go down £7 after the 2 losses today, so that's the next highest. So we had 2 consecutive losses today, whereby we lost 5.95 and 18.42. That was the worst because it was 5.7. And we then done 4 bets at £7.04. Obviously, if one of those had lost, that's where we need to be looking. But even on Friday and Saturday, it didn't look that bad, and it's on its way back up again. That is a one for serious consideration. However, I've got a really big caveat on that one. I can't see it in BFBM Bot Manager. Typically it's not there. So I will have to raise like a support question in the forum, or just ask if that's possible. Probably have to reference this link here to the support desk and see, is it possible to do that? Is it called something else? Some of these things have got like similar or different names. There's a few staking plans I've seen in BFBM that aren't in here, in the staking machine, for example. So it's sod's law basically that it isn't there, but it's something I can ask and see if, even if it's not in, they might even be able to put it in for future. If they can understand the rules and how it works, it shouldn't be rocket science, I don't suppose. So that was one. The next one I'm going to do is the lay percentage recovery plan, which is this one. You can see that's 232, but again it is £2, so I'm quickly going to change that to 1% of the bank. This is where we're tend to do a cycle reset after so many losses, so it's set to 2 here, and again it's just so easy just to change this. Again, there you can see how it's not severe, the drop. We're getting £66.42 profit. Our stakes are really, really nice and low, manageable. It's never going to like double or treble up because of the nature of the recovery plan. If I go down to 127 again, I sound like a broken record, but it has to be done. Can't even get to it. I'm pressing it twice up, twice down. You can see here the stakes. We've got this series deficit going on. We peaked at £159. These stakes are absolutely fine. I don't even understand them. So it's a percentage, 1% of the bank, isn't it? So they're so low though. They're so low. You can see the deficit on the right hand side here goes down to like £8.18, and we'll go from 159 down to 143. How safe does this one look? It looks really, really safe. I know we're only coming out with £66 profit, but £66 profit on a £100 bank after like a week and a bit, it's so much safer than what I've been doing on the 100% recovery, where you exponentially can blow your bank after 3 consecutive losses. And we've had 3 consecutive losses. It will happen. There will be 4 consecutive losses. Seriously, you might not think it can be possible, but it will be. And it will happen. And the more bets you do, the bigger this data set gets from 170. Once you get it like 1,700, 17,000 bets, the bigger the data set, the more chance there is of the 4 in a row hitting. And if you want 100% stake and recovery, you would just blow your bank. It would just be it's 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, and it just gets stupid numbers. That's like, if you read the link I put on and about the roulette, you'll understand what I'm saying. Just don't get carried away. Just play it safe. I mean, these are phenomenal numbers. You should really be looking at 10% a year for your bank to grow would be ideal, but that's only looking at like 100 to 110. I really understand why people are looking to make more than that. I really get it, because yeah, we've made 60% in just over a week, which is absolutely crazy numbers if you've done this staking plan. I'm going to look through these. I've been jotting the numbers down. I'm going to use one of these from tomorrow. Seriously am, because I don't want the risk of the 100% recovery. You just panic yourself. You're putting yourself through stress for no reason. You can just let these things run, and you know for a fact, look at those stakes, you know for a fact it's just like just pennies really, isn't it? £1 odd, £1. I can't even find the biggest stake here. £2.05 at the end of that disastrous run. £2.05 stake. And just look at the profit, £66. I mean, just try that one. Try it in simulation mode. Try all these in simulation mode. The only problem is you have to load the tips file by the looks of it each time for each staking plan, because you would need a different strategy in simulation mode. I'm running 3 myself. I'm running this La Bouchère, which I'm going to show you as well. I'm just looking at my notes here. Probably look at this one as well in the next video. I'm going to have more videos on this, to be honest, but I'll have a quick look at La Bouchère. It's a great name anyway, so he deserves £404 profit. But you can see this drop here, it has a significant drop. The stakes are way too high to start with. So I do need to look at that. I tried to do this in simulation. I used 1, 6, and 21. I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically, it takes the 1 and if you draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, if you don't draw, you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on a sheet of paper horizontally. It basically, the first bet uses the 1 and the 6, the outside numbers. The second bet uses the inside, which is 2 and the 5. And then the next bet uses the 3 and the 4, which is always 7. That's why these are always 7. If you lose, however, it adds something on, like the next number, which would in this case would have been the 3, because they're betting 10. So I just used this, and you can see those numbers, but I used it as a level staking plan of 1. For some reason in BFBM Bot Manager, it was starting with 8, and I was keep putting £8 bet on, even though I think the first bet should have been 7. Which those odds were too high the stakes were too high for me anyway, £8 from the outset. What I should have done is changed my stake from £1 down to like 10 pence, and it would have been betting 80 pence. So I do need to look at this one in a bit more detail, which I will do. But you can see here it goes down, right, and this is your bank, and then actually after those 2 bets and 6. 2 losing bets and 6, it drops 50%. It's down to £54.50. I don't really like that. I'm not a fan of that. After that bet, you're down to 95. After this bet, you're down to 91. So even here on bet 22, you're still running with your starting bank. You're on £101. I know it ends up on 404, but you probably have to look past that a little bit on some of these things. So I go down, we have a nice run here, we lose a 1 there, but by this time we're winning so much, we're winning £7 every bet. We're up to sort of 213. This isn't representative of my £100 starting bank, or really, to be honest, because I wouldn't risk £7 when I've only got £100 starting bank, because we lost £18 there. But however, it does show that it does work, but to me it looks too high risk, is what I'm saying, I think. So let's get down to, because we're up to £300 bank here, £400 bank. So we did peak at a 482, and we're only back up to 404, so we haven't fully recovered by any stretch. And you can see here, I mean, bearing in mind the stakes only start at £7, and that's our standard stake. I need to get that sort of quid, basically. I don't know how to do it on the settings, because it looks like you only, actually I might be able to change it and put less than a whole number in. But you can see here, we only max out at 18 profit. You might think 18 is a lot, but if we're starting point 7, it's only 2.5 times, isn't it? But yeah, this one is a one to look at, but I wouldn't be doing £7 stakes. I'm just wondering if I can change this to lower. I know on Betfair Bot Manager these had to be whole numbers. On my account you can go down to 0. Can I do 0.1? No, I can only use whole numbers in here, so I'd probably have to do something in Betfair Bot Manager to see if I could put fractions of numbers in. It's not something I'd be using with a starting bank of £100, because it looks a bit risky the way it went down. I know it's up to £404 now, and it was up to £480, but it did get down to £54 before it got cracking, is what I'm saying. Another low risk one, I'm going to go through one more. I'm sorry I haven't touched on all these, but this video is just far too long. This layer 1.1 is a low risk recovery. The reason, again, I know that is if I go into here, go into staking plans, go into the layer 1s, into the layer 1.1, it tells me here is a low risk recovery based staking plan. Now, again, I think especially if you're starting off with a low bank, you should be starting with something like this. And I'll show you this one. We've got a total there. This is actually showing us being bankrupt, so I'm not going to show you this one. So this is telling us that at bet number 146, this strategy actually went bankrupt. That's interesting, because after 82 bets and after last night, it wasn't bankrupt, it's only gone bankrupt. It must have been Saturday. Yeah, we're only betting 1% of the bank. I'm not going to show you this one at all. This one looked quite promising. So much for being low risk then. So maybe take these descriptions with a pinch of salt, because if that was low risk, it's the only one that's gone bankrupt that I've shown you. Just want to have a look at it just to see why. I know it was 146, so we'll go straight down there, which is odd because you'd think it would be around the 127 mark. Let's see what happened at 127. We had a bank of £226. How on earth did this go bust with? Okay, it's gone crackers with the bets. Yeah, it's been doing like pound bets. It's trying to recover by adding 1 on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're not recovering because we're getting too many losers here. 11, 12. Even though we're winning here, it's still continuing to rise because it's trying to get rid of this debit. The debit's too high, so I can't see how this is actually. I can't see how this is low risk when it's putting £19 stake on. Probably need to look at the settings and understand it a bit more, because what you're only doing 1%. It actually recovers there, so the debit's 0. So bankrupt's here actually. Bankrupt's here. When we lose the £117, we haven't got that in the bank. So we've busted the bank there. Even though we end up with £270 profit, we haven't got enough money left in Betfair to carry on. If we started with £100 in Betfair, if you have some contingency, obviously you can, but it's just so risky, that is. You're going under what you're starting. You've lost all your bank basically. There's no getting away from it. So I'm not sure. It obviously does recover there, but it's a shame about that one, because I was wanting to show you that, because the last time I loaded the data in when I only had about 100 it was before today. Is that bankrupt today or yesterday? Yesterday at about 5 o'clock. I thought it must have been Friday night I had in, and it hadn't bankrupt. But yeah, bankrupt yesterday about 5 o'clock there on the header at 5. That's the 1642 at Leicester, really, when that one lost as well. We got bankrupt. Anyhow, there's a few more I could show you, but I'm going to keep them for a future video, I think. Look at that one. I'll show you that one before I go away. Can't help myself. Little bonus for the end of the night, the end of the weekend. I think it's because it's doubled up on everything. It's 2-1. So if you bet wins, you're going down 20. And if you bet loses, you go on. Sorry, if you bet wins, you're going down 20. If you bet loses, you're going up 100. So that's 213 there. Again, you'd have to look down your stakes. Stakes look quite nice and low. The graph does drop down a bit, but it does climb back up. So again, we'll go down. The stakes still look nice and low. They never go much above 2. There's 3.2. Let's see. So I like to look at the stakes as well, so I'm not staking too much and risking too much money. And then I like to look for the 127 area. So we peaked at £195. So you can see that we've way recovered from that £195. So we've way recovered from Friday night and Saturday morning's issues. So we've done 1. So this is where it changed. It went 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then it went 3.8 because we won 1, but then it went 4.8 and we won 1 again, so it went down to 4.6, but then went up to 5.6. So you probably have to lose quite a few. It looks like it's just adding 1 every time you lose. So we did go up to 7.2 here, and it does take a while to drop back down, I've noticed here, which might be a risk. Yeah, you can see here it's still doing really high ones. We lost £35 there, for example, on a 5.8 stake, £5.80 stake on 7.2. So then it's in a lot of recovery here. I do need to read up on this one because it's still doing a lot of recovery. It's still doing recovery because it's still doing 4.4. So it's still trying to recover, even though it's more than when it sort of had the bad spell. It should be back to 1 hopefully by now, which it isn't. So I'd probably stay away from that one for the minute until I understand the settings more. If you have a look at it, understand the settings more yourself, or tweak the settings. Anyhow, from the -20 and 100 and see, all you do is just change them and then it'll just update it. That's the beauty about the software. Anyhow, I've rattled on far too much for a Sunday evening. I hope it's given you a good insight to some of the recovery plans that are out there. I seriously recommend getting off the 100% recovery. It's just going to end in tears, really. They always do. It will happen. I would get onto something that's a bit more slow and steady, and you might not get the £98 profit I got. I might see 86. I like the layer 1 to 4. It's made £86.77, which is like what, 11-12 quid less than what I've actually made with the stress of potentially losing a lot of money if we'd had a few more consecutive losses, to which mine still hasn't recovered. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going off to have a look at which one of these I want to use, make sure it's available in BFBM, which most of them are, apart from High Pro 86, which is the one I do like the look of. And I'm going to make sure the stakes aren't too high, it hasn't lost too much, and when it has lost from just before the blip on Friday night, that it's recovered back to probably where it is now. I'm going to take all those factors into consideration to decide which one I'm going with. I'll drop in the Discord group tomorrow which one I have gone with, and I'll let you know. I'll even I can provide the BFBM file if anybody wants it. What I'm going to do here before I go is click on save there. Okay, and what you can do here, you can save these TSM files, that the staking machine files. You can save the results. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to do save it. You can save it virtually in these slots here. I don't know how many there is. It looks like there's a few. Looks like there's quite a few. Or you can save them as a physical file on your drive. I'm just going to save it in here. So I'm just going to save virtual, and I'm going to call it NN, and instead of 82 bets, it's 170 bets, which we can see down here. I start putting the dates on here, and I had £98 profit. and it was its end of play 9th of July 23. Okay, so let's save it like that. So click OK there, go back into save. You can see it's there. Okay, so I can open this up anytime and look at it now. So I can go back and look at this one as well from like, I think that was something like Wednesday or Thursday night, maybe. Wednesday night, doesn't matter when it was, I can go back and look at it. Okay, so I hope that's been of some use. I am so sorry for how long it's gone on. I wanted a half-hour video, and I suspect this is going to be way longer looking at the time. And if you can watch all this, then kudos to you, because I don't think I'd be able to. So on that note, please like and subscribe the video. Now I've bored you to death. Anyway, watch how you go. I'll see you in the next one. Gan Canny.